We are going live for the last of this week's 5-day non-monogamy challenge. So exciting to be doing this, to be like getting through this. Woo! Hop into the chat, say hello, let me know you're here. Let's get this started, y'all. Super, super exciting. Day 5. Yeah. Okay. How are we doing? Hello, Cobalt. I am having a good day. And I'm kicking off a crazy day because, live, and then a whole bunch of live this evening. So, woohoo! Okay, y'all. You ready to get going? Huh? Excellent. So we started off on Monday for this 5-day non-monogamy challenge. We started off on Monday talking about labels, who's got the labels? How do we label ourselves? What labels do we choose for our non-monogamy? And also what labels are we interested in exploring? Either our labels or our partner's labels. Day 2, we talked about let's open, not just opening up a relationship from monogamous to non-monogamous, but also opening up from a more settled relationship pattern into a new one, and how change is hard, y'all. Excuse me. On Wednesday, day 3, we talked to and started to make friends with our green-eyed monsters, talking about jealousy. Hello, Sabyasachi. Always a pleasure. And yesterday, we talked about compersion. So today, the topic is the best rules for non-monogamy. And I'm having a bit of a jest with the title, The Best Rules for Non-Monogamy, because those of you who have spent any time in, non-monogamy groups or polyamory groups online probably have heard you can't set rules in non-monogamy, or there are no rules in polyamory. Rules are immoral, rules are unethical, rules are this, that, and the other thing. And honestly, I don't completely agree. Like, sure, I find it pretty sus when somebody says, I want you to, fill in the blank here for our relationship, and tries to set this hard and fast rule. I get that. That's pretty sus. However, a lot of people overlap their non-monogamy or their polyamory or whatever with other dynamics like kink. Yes, this is live right this moment. So when you are combining, like, for example, kink dynamics with non-monogamy, you're going to find that there are going to be certain rules that are going to come into play. Power exchange dynamics and kink become rules. Also, so when they're talking about rules in non-monogamous communities, they'll say things like, it's not okay or it's not right for you to say you must wear a condom when you have sex with other people. because I'm not, me as a human, am not allowed to control or demand what another person does. What we should be saying, according to them, is I will take steps to protect myself by using a condom with you if you choose to do these things with others. So it's kind of this is my boundary. I require this in order to engage sexually with you. And you get to make the decision on how all of that happens, right? So this is the like rules versus boundaries type of thing. Personally, I don't even really always focus in on this is what I will do if you do that. More, I prefer to talk with my partner and say, this is what I think. And they say, this is what I think. And I say, okay, how about we move forward doing these things? And then we agree, not necessarily to rules, but to the boundaries that we will set on ourselves for our relationship and others, right? But again, that's not really a rule for non-monogamy. So what am I talking about here? Well, yes, Sabyasachi, obviously. Yes, we want to be in the sweet spot. But what is that sweet spot? How do we hit that sweet spot and have rules, right? So let's talk about DS dynamics. Women in charge dynamics, dominant submission, master, slave, owner, property, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So in these cases, Cobalt says rules are okay if they're consented to. Sometimes, right? Ethical rules are okay if they're consented to. So if I were to make a rule that you at 5'9" may not weigh over 110 pounds, and you consent to that, does that make that rule okay? I don't think so, right? Because that's an unhealthy weight for somebody at that height. So ethical rules are okay when consented to. Unethical rules are never going to be okay just because somebody consents. And you will see this, like all of us, I'm pretty sure every single person watching right now has been in a relationship where we agreed to something, a rule, a standard of living, something that looking back, we realize, no, that was not cool. It was consensual, but it was not ethical, right? We've all done some stupid shit in our relationships. Every single one of us. That's part of growing. It's part of being. So, dominance and submission. Let's talk about dominance and submission, or power exchange dynamics in non-monogamy. If you have rules, and no, these are not the rules I'm talking about, but I wanted to touch on this. If you have rules, power exchange rules, discuss how they intersect with your non-monogamous relationships. For example, do your rules, your power dynamic rules, end where the other relationships begin? Right? It could be whenever we are together, these rules are in place, but the rules end wherever those relationships begin. So if you are with me or you are alone, these are the rules. If you are with this other partner, those rules don't come into play. That's one way of doing it. Womanopolis, this discussing BDSM apps right now when we're talking specifically about non-monogamy is off topic, so I won't be addressing that. Feel free to bring that up when I'm talking about BDSM topics. So if you have power exchange rules in place, if they do not end where the other relationship begins, do you get full consent from the other person in that relationship before engaging? Right? Does that person, in order to be ethical, get the chance to consent to rules that will affect their relationship? Right? So if we were to use the type of situation like this week is Cuck Week across the web. So if we were to talk about cuckolding, if I were to meet somebody on a dating app and I went out with them on a date and maybe, had a couple dates with them and then ended up having sex with them and never told them that I had another partner, never told them that that partner was cuckold, never told them, that I was interested in them only for a friends with benefits or a no strings attached relationship, that would not be ethical, right? Regardless of the agreements in my relationship, it affects them and the relationship that they're trying to create with me, whatever that might be. They might be okay with it, right? Like they might be like, heck yeah, I can do all of this and not have to like pay the romance price. Sure, I'm in. But if I don't give them the opportunity to consent, then I'm being unethical, right? Earlier, so that was kink, non-monogamy, intersecting. What happens with those rules? Let's talk real quick a little bit more about boundaries. Because in non-monogamy specifically, I see a lot of people sort of like putting rules onto non-monogamous relationships that are actually, that they call boundaries, that are actually rules that are not so good. And also in many cases, impossible to uphold. Facebook user. So just so you know, if you're in one of my groups on Facebook and you are replying here, unless you have specifically given Facebook the permission to use your name, I'm going to see you as Facebook user. So if you want to, like sign your comments with, a little tag so I know who you are, that would be fabulous. But Facebook user said, so if you don't disclose all, you are unethical. Well, I wouldn't say that not disclosing everything means you're unethical. I would say that when you do not disclose things that affect your relationship with another human and what they might want or hope for out of the relationship, then you're definitely being unethical, right? Like if you pick somebody from an app that said, hey, how do I, hey, I'm in for like no strings attached sex, and you're like, okay, I'm down for no strings attached sex, then it may not really matter ethically whether or not you tell them you have a partner, right? Because they're in for the no strings attached sex. However, if you meet somebody from a dating app and you've gone out on several dates with them and now you're about to have sex with them and they still don't know you have like a life partner, that is crossing the line for me. You see where I'm going with this? Like they might be actually trying to woo you to be a partner. And by withholding your partnered status, they could be making choices that they wouldn't make if they knew, right? So, rules for non-monogamy that I hear about a lot. How about you have to check in before having sex with anyone else? How's that for a rule? I mean, a lot of people have a rule like that. But is it good? Is it right? Is it fair to have that rule? The way I live my relationships, the answer is no. No. Because let's say, you're out on your like third or fourth date with somebody and things start going really, really well. And you sort of like, you're getting into it and whatever. Are you going to say, hold on, I got to check in with my partner and let them know we're about to have the sexy times? Right? Or what if you're out with somebody like a friend and all of a sudden things shift and you're like, ooh, this could be fun to explore? Do you then feel like you have to stop things, check in with a partner, and make sure it's okay to move forward? Hmm. Is that something you require from your partners? And if so, why? And again, I'm not telling you yes or no. I'm asking you questions. That is not one of my best rules for non-monogamy, for example. In fact, that would be a rule that I would not be comfortable with in any of my non-monogamous relationships. But that doesn't mean it's wrong for you. It just means that that's one of those rules that people put into place that may or may not work. Here's another one. How about a rule: you can have as much sex as you want, but you can't fall in love? What do you think about that one? Can't fall in love. Now, some people won't fall in love. Like, they've already got their love, their romance or whatever, and all they're doing is the sexy things. Cobalt says, good luck with that. Exactly. How do you choose whether to fall in love or not? Uh-oh, I think I'm falling in love. Better break up with this person now so I don't break a rule. So these things are potentially problematic for some people. Even I do not fall in love with anybody outside of one relationship at a time. When I am in love with somebody, I don't have those romantic feelings for others. Now, for those of you who haven't been following along all week, I define non-monogamy as people who have sex, pair bond, or feel romantic towards, like fall in love with more than one person at a time, multiple people. And for me, I have sex with and I pair bond with multiple people at a time. I do not then, though, have romantic love, fall in love with more than one person at a time. That's me. Roger says the rule can't be enforced, but if you feel you need that rule, maybe you'd better not try this. Roger, you and I are agreeing entirely too much today. We better stop this. Because when it comes right down to it, when you put people together in intimate situations, feelings might develop. I have never, ever fallen in love with more than one person at a time. But do I make that a rule in my relationships? No. What if I do? Am I going to be like, oh shit, well, I'm breaking a rule. Better stop now? No. No, I'm not. So, even though or what about, well, you can't have sex until, I approve of that person, right? Or how about the veto? We did talk about the veto last week. Like, you can, go out and meet as many people as you want, but I get to say no if I don't like them, right? Again, I'm not saying you cannot have these rules. I am saying that these are common rules and they are not the best rules for non-monogamy. So, I have 5 best rules for non-monogamy according to Heather, the Nookster. That would be me, right? Are you ready? Are you ready for what they are? Anyone? Anyone? I know you are. Rule numero uno: appreciation. I promise that in my relationship with you, whoever I'm in a relationship with, I will appreciate you. In fact, I very specifically wrote, gosh, I don't even know when this was. I wrote it. But I wrote this blog post a while ago that was about communication, probably, 3-4 years ago now. And I said, communication is not the most important part of a relationship. And this is coming from somebody who teaches communication classes. So, yeah, this is important. What is the most important part of a relationship? Rule number 1: I will appreciate you truly, deeply, wonderfully. Appreciating your partners as people, appreciating what they do for you, appreciating their character and their drive, appreciating their quirks and their foibles. Because without that appreciation, you're going to run into communication killers. The things that will make your conversations into arguments and your collaborations into battles. You're going to lose the benefit of the doubt to get you through the stressful times and the hurtful times. And if you don't appreciate somebody, you're probably going to find yourself trying to make them over or run their lives or create rules like you might for a child, right? Somebody said, they were on Facebook and they said, I'm having these problems with my partners and da 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 da, yada yada yada. And they said, so if my partner does this, should I tell them that if they do this, then our relationship is going to go into lockdown mode, and I get to see every message on their texts and blah 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 blah. And I was like, okay, but do you really want to be that with your partner? Like, do you want to treat your partner like a child and you their parent and put them in detention? That is not showing appreciation. That is not appreciating your partner. And once you do not appreciate your partner, once you lose that appreciation, what do you have, right? And let's add on to that. You have to also appreciate yourself, and that you feel strong and that you contribute to the relationship and that you make good choices, right? By appreciating your partner, you are appreciating that you made a good choice. Right? Rule number 1, I will appreciate my partner truly, deeply, and wonderfully. Rule number 2, openness and honesty. And this is where communication comes into play, right? Openness and honesty. I will be who I am with you. I will be open with you. I will be honest with you. Now, that does not mean I have to tell you every single thing, but it does mean I will not withhold things that will affect your ability to consent. Like my partner did for years. Like, I think we were 7 years in before I found out that not only does he not like Pink Floyd, but he loves U2. How could he keep that from me? That is not openness and honesty. He was deliberately suckering me in until I was too far gone in love with him to realize the monster that he is. And now I just have to live with that. Openness and honesty. And by openness and honesty, I don't just mean like, hey, sometimes I think about being spanked and it kind of turns me on. But also, hey, today I'm feeling a little down and I could use a hug. Or, hey, Karen Bay says, loving you too sounds more like polyamory than ethical non-monogamy. You know what? That's pretty brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for making me laugh. Yeah, Cobalt. There was another brick in the wall of still not having found what we're looking for. Okay, anyway. Theory, most relationships are based on inhibitions rather than boundaries. Yes. Most relationships, I think, are based on a lack of openness and honesty because people are terrified of showing other people who they are and then getting rejected. If you are not honest and you're not open and you get rejected, well, then at least you're getting rejected for like not your full self, right? Well, at least they didn't know that about me because now, I can feel like I'm not being rejected for that, right? Yeah. Womanopolis, is it possible to be 100% honest in kink? I'm curious why you think it would not be. Because of course it's possible. You just be open and honest. Like, there's not a trick to this. It's the way it is. And if you are not open and honest, you are committing your relationship, you are handicapping your relationship. You are limiting your relationship to the scope of your lies and evasions. Is surprise not an element in kink? Surprises are not the same thing as dishonesty. So I told I've got two stories related to surprises. This past year, 2022, my partner's birthday, I was planning this big surprise party. He was turning a half-decade birthday, 55, surprise birthday party, bringing work friends together, kink friends together, like non-kink friends together, tried to fly his mother in, like the whole 9 yards, really putting on this shindig. We were traveling for 2 weeks before, and we were supposed to get in 2 days before his birthday. That's not what happened. No, we were supposed to get in like a full, 2 days before his birthday. No, a full day before his birthday. 1 day before his birthday. That is not what happened. Our flight got canceled. And so we got home the night before his birthday. Now, here's what was supposed to happen. I found out right before we left that I needed to move some stuff out of my old roommate's space. And so I was going to do that the day before his birthday, that extra day before his birthday when I got home. Except I didn't have an extra day. So I am moving stuff out of that house into a storage unit the day that I'm also organizing everybody to come together for his surprise birthday. Oh, and by the way, that was also a day that he normally gets together with a bunch of his friends in the evening, like every week, for like beers and sandwiches and running or cycling or some sort of like outdoorsy athletic stuff. So it's the afternoon and I'm talking to my partner, and he says to me on the phone, he says, how's it going? And I have promised him I will not lie to him ever. And I say, it's going well. A little stressed. I said, I may ask you for your assistance a little bit later this evening, maybe around 5 or 6 p.m. to grab a couple more things, which was true. And he said, this is like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He says, can I help you now? Could I take off the afternoon from work and help you now so that we could get this done in time for me to go out with everyone this evening, meaning his buddies, for sandwiches and beer and athletic stuff. And I, who was incredibly stressed by all of this, started saying, I'm like, baby. And he's like, yes. I'm like, you need to shut up right now. I'm like, because I cannot come up with an honest reply to you and not lie to you. So you are just going to have to be surprised this evening, and you are going to have to listen to me, and you are going to have to be ready at 6 p.m. because your friends are not going to be out at beer and doing athletic things because you need to be surprised. Oh gosh. And I could hear him on the other side of the phone, and he's like, okay, baby, I love you. If there's anything you need, you just let me know. And I'm like, I just need you to be surprised and be ready at 6 o'clock. Oh my goodness. He was incredibly surprised because he had he obviously knew at that point that I was doing something to surprise him. He did not know what I had been doing or how many people I was bringing together. And it ended up being like 30 some odd people. and so on and so forth. So, um, yeah. And then there was the time that I'd been talking to him for like 3 weeks, setting up this scenario of like, oh my gosh, I just haven't had any really good sex for a while with somebody else, and yada, yada, yada. And I got it all set up, and I'm in my car and I'm driving there. And he just sends me a text message like, hey, babe, what's up? And he does this like just randomly at times. And I wrote back to him and I'm like, baby, if you ever want to be surprised by me doing things like, oh, I don't know, traveling to get laid so I can tell you about it later, you can't just randomly send me text messages saying, hey, babe, what's up? Because you just ruined your own surprise. And he started laughing. He's like, yeah, I got to be more careful about that. So, holding something back for a surprise is not dishonesty. Lying about it is dishonesty. Now, you may, in your relationship, though, negotiate, okay, you can lie up to a point in order for these things to happen. You can lie within a scene, like I'm using a knife on you and it's really a paper clip or whatever it is. But know where those boundaries are. For me, openness and honesty is rule number 2. So far we've got rule number 1, appreciate your partner wonderfully, truly, deeply. Rule number 2, be open and honest and communicate that to your partner, right? Rule number 3, be compassionate and kind. So, one of the reasons appreciate your partner is so critical is because if you do not appreciate who your partner is and what they bring to your life, why bother communicating with them, right? Why bother telling them what's important to you or sharing your deepest, darkest secrets? Because you don't appreciate what they're bringing to the table, right? And if you don't appreciate them, then compassion and kindness won't matter nearly as much. But if you do appreciate them, you want to be compassionate and kind. You want to say even difficult things in a way that they can receive it in the best way possible, right? And we were talking about this compassion and kindness on day 2 of the 5-day challenge, the one on Tuesday, let's open, right? Where we were saying, okay, how do we handle change? How do our partners handle change? And how can we be compassionate and kind when things are about to change or when we'd like to propose a change with our partners? Because when you're not being compassionate and kind, because there are a lot of people, okay, so I just said openness and honesty, and now you're saying compassion and kindness, but like, would you rather me like lie or do you want the blunt truth? Right? That's what people say to me. Well, I mean, it's either like I'm going to be blunt or I'm going to lie. And I'm like, well, have you considered telling the truth compassionately? Hmm? Like, and those of you who followed me for years have heard this a million times, but the idea that people tend to trot out is, well, what if they ask me, do these jeans make my butt look big? Right? So they say either I say, hell yeah, they do, or I say, no, baby, of course not. Right? So either I tell the truth and I'm a jerkwad, or I lie. But there is another option. It's called compassionate honesty, where you look at those jeans and you say, baby, I love your figure. I love everything about your figure. I love the joy it brings to my life. I love looking at your figure. And if you were walking in front of me in those jeans, I would be disappointed. Those are not your best look, right? It's not you, it's the genes. Please find another pair. Simple. Compassion and kindness in your relationship. And earlier today, I was talking about, these little thought exercises that I like to put out into the world. And the one I'd like to put out there for compassion and kindness is this. And I know Cobalt's heard this before, and I'm sure Sabyasachi has heard it before. How would your relationship be different if you knew without question, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that your partner would never intentionally hurt you, never twist your words, never lash out at you in anger? Zach, good to see you. And let's turn that around. How would your relationship or your relationships be different if your partners knew that you would never hurt them intentionally, never twist their words against them, never lash out at them in anger? So that's your third rule for non-monogamy. First rule, appreciating your partner truly, deeply, wonderfully. Second rule, openness and honesty, communication. Third rule, compassion and kindness. Rule the fourth, collaboration. Working together to build the best possible relationship of whatever style that you are building together for both of you. Collaboration is building a relationship that is the best of what you both want. Sabyasachi mentioned it earlier, building your relationship in the sweet spot. Sweet spot's a Venn diagram. This is what you want. This is what I want. The sweet spot is where we overlap. Collaboration, not compromise, not battling it out or arguing, collaborating. I want this thing. You want that thing. How do we both get the most of what we want in our relationship? Right? How do we build what I consider to be a successful relationship where two people, you and I, both get far more out of the relationship than we put into it? Because again, if you don't get far more out of your relationship than you put into it, and the rest of life is draining you, you're going to have nothing left. Right? Collaboration. So I wrote this piece a few years back. It says, "Fuck no, I will not compromise." And apparently I broke a part of the internet posting that, because I had people yelling at me saying that they have compromised for 20 years and I'm telling them they're doing it wrong. And I said, no, I'm not telling you you're doing it wrong. You can compromise all you want. I will not compromise. I prefer to collaborate. And people will say they are the same thing. And I will say, no, they are not. Because a compromise is two or more people giving something up as the result of a disagreement or battle. Whereas collaboration is two or more people coming together to build something positive. Very, very different mindsets, right? That's why that is rule number 4 in the best rules for non-monogamy. Tiara, love this view. Thank you. Rule number 5. Assume the best intentions. Do you know what I feel most people get wrong about opinions? And it's not the opinions are like assholes thing, because I think they're absolutely right on that. Although I don't think everybody has just one opinion, and everybody does, or at least as far as I know, everybody I know has just one asshole. And so that's a whole nother thing right there. No. Here's what I think people get wrong most often about opinions or viewpoints or political beliefs or whatever it is. And that is this. We think the same. And what I mean by that is, even when you are arguing with somebody and you are telling them that they are wrong, you think they are wrong for the same reasons that you would be wrong if you thought that. Does that make sense? Probably not. Let me explain. So let's say my partner comes in and brings me flowers. And I say, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I love these flowers, blah, 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 blah. This is wonderful. And I set them right next to me on the table. And then a couple days later, for whatever reason, I haven't changed the water and they're starting to wilt prematurely. Right? And my partner notices this. And my partner thinks, oh, wow, she's ignoring those flowers. I wonder if she didn't like them. She usually likes those flowers. I wonder if she didn't like them. Maybe I didn't get the right flowers. Maybe she's upset with me about something. I mean, because I change the water every day, because if I want flowers to last as long as they can, you got to change the water every day. And she hasn't even changed the water once, and it's been like 4 days. Valens, he is overthinking, but it's not even just the overthinking. It's assuming that if I don't change the water for those flowers, it's for the same reasons that he wouldn't change the water for the flowers. Whereas I'm simply ADHD, and I probably have thought about it like 1,400 times, and I've just, oh yeah, I should change the water to the next time I get up. Right? That's a very basic example. But what about something like your partner dates somebody that you don't like somebody you really don't like, maybe somebody that hurt you, right? And you say, I'd really appreciate it if you don't date them. And they said, I'm sorry, I can't give you that, but I do love you very, very much. And in your mind, you think, well, they can't love me as much as they say they do because they're dating somebody that I don't like. Right? And I would, here's the trap. I would never date somebody that they didn't like if I really love them. So the challenge is we disagree on things, but we think we disagree for exactly the same reasons. Whereas usually it's because we're radically different human beings. So always assume the best intentions, right? Like if I see something like, oh, I don't know. So my partner once, he said, oh, I hate it when shoes are left like right in the middle of the floor because like then I get up and I trip over them. Okay, right? I won't leave my shoes in the middle of the floor. Even though when I'm here, I tend to walk over to close to where I'm going to be sitting. I take off my slippers and then I get up onto the couch. And my slippers often end up kind of in the middle of the floor. But it doesn't matter because I'm the only one here, right? And the other night, right, he accidentally trips over my slippers because he had come in while I was sitting here on my own. He didn't mind. I said, oh, hey, sorry, sweetie. He just moved them out of the way. You know what's funny? Later that evening, I get up and I trip over his slippers. And of course, it flashes through my head that little shit put his slippers right where he knew I was going to walk so I could trip over them. And then I thought, no, he put his slippers there because that's where he sat down, just like I put my slippers there because that's where I sat down, right? Assume the best intentions. Don't jump immediately to assuming the worst, right? Cobalt, you mentioned, and this came in probably a little bit late. You said I've started doing that since Boundaries Are Sexy as Fuck started. What have you started doing? I would love to know that. So far, the 5 rules, the 5 best rules for non-monogamy. 1, appreciate your partner deeply, openly, truly, wonderfully. 2, openness and honesty, right? Be open, be honest, communicate. 3, compassion and kindness in everything you do with your partner. 4, collaborate rather than battle it out, rather than argue. Say, what can we do to both get as much of what we want in this relationship? 5, assume the best intentions. Cobalt says, looking at my partner's or others' actions as being about what they are experiencing, not assuming it's about me or against me, etc. Perfect. So Cobalt is in the Take No Shit workshop that I offer and has been following along with the Boundaries Are Sexy as Fuck live write that I've been doing of a boundaries book. So yeah. And I have a bonus for you. And this one is not a requirement. However, I have found that this particular rule is a good one to have in relationships. If one of us gets upset, the other one does not. Now, yes, I know how hard that sounds. And yes, I know exactly how hard that is. To me, it comes down to being deeply compassionate. Because when my partner gets upset, it's because something has happened to make them feel a particular way strongly enough to get upset about it. And if I was not yet feeling that strongly about whatever it is. So they say, hey, I really don't like it when you do XYZ. I don't come back with, oh, yeah, well, hey, I don't like it when you leave your slippers in the middle of the floor. Oh, yeah, well, you left your slippers in the middle of the floor last night. Here's the thing. I wasn't upset enough to bring it up last night. So it's not fair for me to get upset right now when they have hit that place. And that's rough. That is a very, very challenging rule. However, if you choose to put that bonus rule in place and you choose to practice it, if you are able to pause yourself and say, I was just about to get upset back at you. However, let's collaborate on your challenge first, and I can set mine aside. Life and arguments get so much more human, right? Like if I'm about to go, oh yeah, but, and I'm able to stop and say, okay, baby, let's talk about that. Now, of course, it's even better if one or the other of you can say, hey, I've got this thing that I think I might be getting upset about, but I'm not really sure. Can we talk about it Tuesday night at dinner? That's better. That's way better, right? But if you can start with, hey, if one of us gets upset, the other one immediately gets compassionate, and you remind yourselves of that when you're starting to go there, so that you, neither one of you needs to battle it out. Cobalt says that's a boundaries thing too. Absolutely. Making space for their feelings requires knowing their feelings are not part of you. Yeah. So there you go. The 5 best rules for non-monogamy and one bonus. Appreciate your partner truly, deeply, wonderfully. Openness and honesty in communication, and communicate as much as possible. Compassion and kindness. 4, collaboration. 5, assume the best intentions. And then the bonus, if one of you is upset, the other one immediately gets compassionate. Yeah. There you go. So that is day 5 of the 5-day non-monogamy challenge. That is my 5 best rules for non-monogamy, according to Heather, aka Miss Nookie. It is about 3 p.m. Eastern time in 2 hours. 2, 1, 2, uno, dos. I will be opening up the social area for our weekend event. It's not cheating. If you've not yet registered, do please register. Join us this weekend. It is free to attend live. Miss Nookie, if you're nasty. Aye, Zach. Oh, and by the way, Zach is presenting this weekend. He's going to be talking about selfish care and how self-care is a requirement in all relationships, including non-monogamous relationships. So I'm super, super excited about that because I absolutely freaking adore Zach. He is brilliant, and I can't wait to see that episode. And also, I have been trying for several years to talk Zach into doing a selfish care workshop. So if all of you can join the selfish care presentation this weekend and inspire Zach to do a selfish care workshop with me, then please, please do, because we absolutely want that in our lives. So it's not cheating this weekend, a full weekend of non-monogamous education, socialization, yada, 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 this, that, and the other thing. I will be teaching several workshops. It is free to attend live. So join us, be a part of this, have a great time with all of us. And I look forward to seeing you, if not in 2 hours, at the social. Hopefully at one of the presentations this weekend. The schedule is right there at notcheating.com. You can join it there. And yeah, super exciting. I hope to see you all. So love y'all. See you in a bit.